this week, rather than showing you my cup of whatever I'm drinking, thought I'd show you my badge. So this is a badge from the HarperCollins Party, and I'll tell you a bit more about that in a minute. So welcome back to my channel. My name's Deborah Carr. I write historical fiction. I also write as Georgina Troy, and for those I write contemporary romance series. So I have been quiet on here of late for the last probably week, and it's just because it's been such a busy time. So last week we had an incredibly hot heat wave, which if you lived in the UK you will have experienced too, or in France and I suppose most of Europe, I'm not sure. It was incredibly hot. Jersey went up to 39.3 degrees, which is a record for us. And although my house is quite cool because it's very thick walls, it's very old, so I opened all the windows and doors in the morning and closed them all off. It was pretty airless by the end of the day, and I had a housewarming party to prepare for Sunday. So it was a lot. It was so exhausting. I didn't do half the things I could do in the heat wave. So when it had mostly gone on Saturday, I ran around like a complete loon, planting things, weeding. My children, who are in their 30s, were doing the shopping. It was a busy time, but we had a party. It was lovely. And of course, for the party, the garden was looking lovely. I was so thrilled I'd finally managed to do it, pushed through all the heat and everything. My son had mowed the lawn. Everybody had run around, been really helpful. My son's fiance was putting up chairs and tables, and everything looked beautiful. And 10 minutes before everyone was due to arrive, it decided to rain. So on the one hand, we were relieved that we had some rain finally, and also that it was fractionally cooler. But on the other hand, everyone was under big umbrellas, but no one seemed to mind. The rain did stop. It was more sort of drizzly than rain, and it stopped and started quite a few times. And everyone did seem to have a really good time. So thank heavens for that. So that was really good. So that was Sunday. And then on Monday, it was clearing up, obviously, and working through edits. I'm now behind on my edits. I'm never, ever usually behind on anything with my work. And I had to get ready to go to London. So Tuesday was packing and sorting out things for the dogs. Of course, because Claude has diabetes, somebody needs to inject him twice a day, make sure his food's exactly right and stuff like that. So I'm very grateful to my son who did that for me. He stepped in really well. And like me, he's not an early morning person, so getting up at 6:30, good for him. I'm very pleased. So that was all fine. I had a wonderful time in London. So as I said, so this is my badge. We all get given these badges. They're very clever. They used to have pins on the back, and now they have, I can't get it off. Now they have magnets. Isn't that clever? So it goes either side of your clothes. They did used to say to us to leave them behind. I wasn't told that this time. I usually take it with me anyway, because you want a souvenir from, I mean, how many times are you going to be invited to HarperCollins Author Party? So I took mine with me anyway. I think a lot of people probably do. But it was outstanding, as it always is. It was held at the V&A in London, Victoria and Albert Museum in London, which was incredible. So I met friends for drinks before at the Rembrandt Hotel, which was only across the road, so that was good. And then we walked across to the party. So you have to queue, and you have a QR code from your acceptance. If you when you are a VP for the invitation, you're then sent this QR code for you to use, because you won't get in without it, basically. And usually we end up going in, so it takes quite a long time, and you go to a desk where somebody checks you in and that sort of thing. This time they had probably about 5 or 6 people outside with laptops. And they did the QR code, which was fantastic. So it was actually really moved very quickly. And once you're inside this beautiful, cool, incredible marbled foyer, for, I don't know, want of a better word, with this magnificent chandelier hanging down, lots of different pieces. I remember watching a documentary on it years ago, lots of different pieces intertwined. It is a work of art. Then you get your name badge. So there's so many authors there that they have like first half of the alphabet on the left and the other half on the right. And then there's this lovely big sign, neon sign saying HarperCollins, and either side, like a floral display where people stood to have their photos taken. I will be showing a video that I took. I took a video. I have some photos, not many, because I always forget to do photos. I'm too busy talking and having fun with friends who I don't see for a long time. But I'm waiting because somebody else had photos of us standing in front of that sign. So when I get that, I'll put together the video that I can then share of the party, and I'll share a bit about my weekend. That was fabulous. You go in there, and the only people invited are authors who are published this year by HarperCollins. So not even authors who may have been published for a long, long time, just in the year that the party is. There are no plus ones, nothing like that. And there's agents and editors, and of course the publishers are in there. So I went in with a group of friends, having caught up with them in the bar before, across the road, and it's just glorious. Free drink, free beautiful food, canapes. Everything is beautifully done, and everyone has a really fabulous time. And it's in the gardens there, which is like a massive courtyard. It's so beautiful if you haven't been. And when it gets darker, the buildings are lit up. Last year, mostly I've seen them, they've been purple. This time it was a reddy colour. Absolutely stunning as always. New CEO, Kate Elton, did a really good speech, and which we all loved, and which was then reported on the next morning in the bookseller. So if you want to know what she said in her speech and you subscribe to the bookseller, you can see it in there. But there's so many people. It's one of those things where you keep seeing people and say, oh, hello. But everybody's moving around all the time because either editors or agents are looking for each other. Authors and agents are looking for each other to catch up if they haven't done so before. And people are looking for their friends, that sort of thing. So it's all very fast moving. It's all very exciting. And it's obviously quite tiring for somebody who spends their time, as you like in here mostly, or outside writing. I have a very solitary life, very happily, most of the time with my writing. So that's one reason why this is terribly exciting, is that you do get to meet other author friends. But it's also a bit of a shock to the system because you've now got to actually think of things to say and try and be a little bit interesting. But the one thing is we all are in the same boat. And so it's a lot of fun catching up to do. And then I obviously met up with my publisher, Charlotte Ledger, who is just amazing. And Jenny Rothwell from the One More Chapter team. It was just lovely, lots and lots of people. So yes, I had a wonderful time, and then I left, and so my daughter and her partner are renting for a short time in Clapham, and they took me there on 2 buses because my daughter worries I'll get lost, and that's not an unfounded concern. And then I got the 2 buses back. She told me exactly which ones to get, exactly where to get them, screenshots of where not to get off and where to get off and things like this. So I went back to where they're staying and slept like a baby. I was so tired. And then the next day we got up. It was so hot. It's when it gets hot in Jersey, I don't know. We always seem to have, well, certainly in St. Wands we do. I gather in St. Clements they don't. But in St. Clements you've got the hills behind. It's a very different sort of, and it's much lower than where I'm in St. Wands. So I constantly, even with that heat, had a constant breeze. Might be an extremely hot breeze, but it was a breeze. But there's one thing you obviously don't get in London, and that's a sea breeze. And there was a bit of a breeze at the party, but I keep thinking it's Saturday and Sunday. It wasn't. It was Wednesday and Thursday. By the next day, it was so hot. Anyway, we had a lovely morning, and then the girls, they treated me to lunch at the Ivy in Clapham, which was absolutely fabulous. I've only been to the Ivy once before with my publisher Charlotte a couple of years ago, and that was the Tower Bridge one. Again, that was lovely too, but it was really beautiful. Obviously the surroundings are lovely, the staff are amazing, and the food was delicious. So that was lovely. And then we walked a bit around the shops, went back to their place, got ready to go back to the airport, and then I actually saw somebody I hadn't seen for, I don't know, probably about 15 years, which was really lovely, waiting to be called for our plane. That was really nice, and then just flew back, and today is washing and stuff. But today is also, very excitingly, I have received 2 contracts from HarperCollins. Not one, as if that wasn't exciting enough, but 2. So that's one I already know. There's one slight thing I want to change. When I say one slight thing I want to change, it's in my my account details. So when I get paid, which hopefully it'll be not too long, there's a slight typo in that, but that's all. So that I will send back straight away. And the other one, that's to do with this new series. So we had discussions on delivery times of the books, because that goes into the contract. So book 1 is already delivered. Book 2 should have been delivered by, I think it was the 21st of June. Will it be past that? But when I was talking about delivery dates, and oh yes, I can do this, and oh yes, I can do that, I hadn't taken into account that I still hadn't done proofs for Witchbane, and I still hadn't done any edits for the first book, and consequently I have to think of these dates going through to the 5th book. So I'm going to have to rethink those dates. I'm going to have to go back to them about them. So that's going to take a bit of thought. I thought I'd do this first before I completely lose myself for hours in that. So that's my busy day. I'm going to spend the next half of the year working on this series. That's me, really. I've got a lot of cool water in here because I need it. I've already had a Kit Kat, but I did have a lot of muesli with fruit and walnuts and stuff. So I think I've sort of prepared myself to actually focus on work, and now I better get on with it. So I hope you have a lovely day. And yes, and I hope to share my photos about the party very, very soon. Have a lovely day.